Good morning. How are you guys? Okay. Before the start, anyone have a question? Any question, guys?
ايوه يا مستر، هو الاساينمنت اللي حضرتك كنت حاطه انا عملته وبعته دلوقتي.
Okay.
ف... فهو انا عايز اعرف هو حضرتك هتعمل له جريد امتى؟
Okay, I will check it. Okay. You finish it?
اه يا مستر وبعته.
Okay. Thank you. Any question for the start? Okay. Let's remember what was explained in the previous session. In the last session, we explained section 6.3, Mendel and heredity, and we know that Mendel is called the father of heredity due to his experiments, and we explained the meaning of traits and the meaning of genetics and the difference between phenotype and genotype. And at the end of the section, we explained some details about the Mendel's experiments, and we finished with the first law of Mendel, which is called law of segregation. Today, I will explain the fourth section, 6.4, because I found that we still have time for the exam. I just needed 2 sessions for the revision, and the topics you must study it to have the ability to differentiate between traits, genetic, gene, DNA, alleles, genotype, phenotype, dominant trait, recessive traits, heredity traits, acquired traits, all of these scientific expressions. I want from you to can identify and differentiate between them. Because in the next year, inshallah, grade 11, there is no biology. So I want from you to be ready for grade 12 if you will take Sat 2. So today I will explain the difference between traits, genes, alleles, and the difference between dominant, recessive, genotype, phenotype, genetics. Firstly, we know that traits traits are classified according to they are inherited or not into two types. We have heredity traits, we have acquired traits. Heredity traits, they are traits inherited from generation to another or passed from generation to another. While acquired, don't transmitted or inherited from generation to another. Example of hereditary traits, eye color, skin color, and so on. Acquired traits like skills of the playing foot, and so on. And then we explain what the meaning of traits. We say that traits are the characteristics that are inherited. Again, what is the meaning of traits? Traits is about the characteristics that inherited from parents to their offspring. And we know that the branch of the science or biology that studied these traits and how these traits transmitted from parents to their offspring is called genetics. So you must know what the meaning of genetics. Again, genetics is the study of how traits get passed from parent to their offspring. Okay, and then we explain the difference between genotype and phenotype. And at the end of the session, Mahmoud asked me again what the difference between them. Okay, you must know what the difference between genotype and phenotype. Okay, firstly, phenotype. You can take the first three letters and just for you to can identify the difference between them. Phi are physical. So you can say that phenotype is the physical expression of genes. The physical expressions of genes. For example, when you say that the eye color trait, eye color trait or the gene that carry the eye color trait, so it is maybe different types, eye colored, dark brown, and so on. So it the physical traits, maybe blue, maybe green, dark brown, and so on. So it the physical expressions or the phenotype is about the characteristics. What about the genotype? The genotype is a set of genes in DNA or letters that represents the phenotype. For example, as Mendel, Mendel's experiment on the pea plant, he find that some plant high tall, some plant short. So we have two traits about the height of the pea plant, tall or short. Tall pea plant or short pea plant, it is phenotype. It is phenotype. What about their genotype? About their genotype, tall plant is dominant, as we studied in the last session. So it represents by two genes. If it pure dominant, it will be double T capital. If it hybrid dominant, it will be T capital, T small. And the short plant is recessive. So recessive letters are small. So it will be T small. Okay, here, T small, T small. Again, this is genotype, genotype, genotype. This genotype represents a phenotype. This represents what? T capital, T capital, capital represent dominant tall trait, pure. T capital, T small represent dominant tall plant, hybrid, not pure. T small represents recessive. Recessive, always pure. So it consists of genes, two genes, small letters. Okay? So the difference between genotype and phenotype. Phenotype, again, is the physical expressions of genes. Genotype is a set of genes in DNA represent the phenotype. And we explained the first law of segregation. First law of segregation say that when two pure individuals of any pairs of hereditary traits are different from each other, only the dominant trait appears in the first generation by 100%, and or while the recessive trait will appear in the first generation by 25%, or at the ratio 3 to 1. 3 are dominant, 1 are recessive. Okay, so what is the difference between DNA and gene? DNA is the information in our cells that passed from generation to next one. Again, what's the meaning of DNA? DNA, the information inside us that transmitted from generation to the next one. Okay, so it is the meaning of DNA. So what's the meaning of gene? We know that DNA is double strand, okay, double helix, according to the scientists Watson and Crick. The double helix of DNA, for example, if we take a piece of the DNA strands, it's called gene. So gene is a piece of DNA. What is the function of this gene? This gene provides the cell with the information or instructions to make a certain protein. We know that each trait to form, for example, the hair color, yellow hair color, for example, to form these traits, you must form or have its protein. This protein made from the DNA. And DNA consists of a sequence of genes. Each gene carry a specific trait. This trait appears by specific protein when an specific enzyme worked on it. Again, DNA sequence of genes. Sequence of genes. We have from 60 to 80 thousands of genes. Each gene carry a specific trait. The appearance of this specific trait, for example, the yellow hair color, appears by a specific protein. This specific protein worked on it by specific enzyme. So gene, not DNA. Gene is a piece of DNA. Each gene provides a set of instructions and information to any cell to make a certain protein which is responsible for the appearance of a certain trait. Okay, you got it? So there's a difference between gene and DNA. So what is the meaning of allele or allele? Allele or allele means any gene inside your DNA have two forms, like the Coca-Cola can, you know, at the end, the brand is Coca-Cola. Maybe this Coca-Cola may be diet, maybe normal, so it have different forms, but at the end, it is Coca-Cola. Like the iPhone is a brand, but it have different versions. iPhone 6, iPhone 7, 8, and so on, 11 Pro Max, and so on. So alleles alleles are the different forms or alternative forms of genes, or it is the different possible versions of genes that may occur. Again, what's the meaning of alleles or alleles? They are different forms or different alternative possible versions of gene. Each gene at least have two alleles. These two alleles may be similar, may be different. For example, we know that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay, they are pairs, one from father, another one from mother. So they are genes. Maybe this they are chromosomes, sorry, and they carry the genes. For example, in this part, gene carry the eye color trait. Eye color trait. So they are genes of the same trait, so they are alleles, different versions of gene. If these traits which they carried are similar, for example, both of them carry blue eye color, so it will be homozygous alleles because they are similar. But if one of them carry the same trait, the same gene, which is eye color, but one of them blue and another one green. So they are same gene, same trait, but different alleles. So they are called heterozygous alleles. So we have different types of alleles, maybe homozygous, maybe heterozygous. Homozygous when they are similar or identical to each other. When they are different, they will be heterozygous alleles. At, at the end, to know that the difference between gene and alleles, you can say that gene determine the trait. Gene determine the trait, while alleles determine the kind of trait, the kind of trait. For example, if this trait or the this trait is the, for example, skin color or eye color, hair color, and so on. So the gene responsible or determine the appearance of this trait or not. This trait appears or not. Okay. But about alleles, it determines the kind of trait. If it eye color, so gene responsible for the appearance of eye color. Okay, what the function of alleles? These functions of the function of alleles are determine the kind of the eye color trait. For example, maybe dark brown, maybe blue, maybe green, and so on. So the difference, the final difference between alleles and gene determine the trait, appearance of the trait or not, but alleles determine the kind of traits. And you must know that each each gene have two different alleles, or maybe more than two. Okay, the last point in this section. What is the meaning of genome? What is the meaning of genome? Maybe you heard this name before, like the project of human genome. What is the meaning of a genome? We know that all of an organism's genetic materials inside it are called genome. So genome, it's about all of your genetic materials. So each one of us have its own genome. It's about your DNA and its structure and sequence. And we know that the DNA sequence different from person to another. Like what? If it's the DNA of me, for example, we know that it is double helix. Maybe my sequence A, T, G, C, C, G, T, A, and another person, my brother, for example, So this DNA sequence different than this DNA sequence. So from this sequence or this genetic materials, you can identify different persons. So the aims of the huge project, which is called human genome, is to save the sequence of DNA of each person and to determine and identify the different diseases that infected the people and how to solve it or protect them from this infection. And this project applied on animals to save them from extinctions. So you must know what the meaning of genome. Genome is all the genetic materials you have. And at the end, what is the again what the genotype and phenotype and dominant and recessive. You must know that if you have this understanding about dominant and recessive, dominant traits or dominant alleles is not better or not stronger than recessive. Dominant, not better, not stronger than recessive. But dominant traits, when they genes, their genes, you know that you inherited gene from your father and the same from your mother. When the two genes you inherited from your parents are pure, are dominant, so your dominant traits appears. If they don't present, so the recessive traits appears. For example, you can apply this in your family, in your class, between your friends. You can notice that if, if you in your class about 20 students, for example, you can find that most of them have dark brown eye color. Dark brown eye color. Some of them have colored eye color. So in human being, the dark brown eye color, this traits is dominant because most of them or most of your friends have this trait, and some of them have another trait. So the another trait is recessive. So a human being have different dominant traits like wrinkled hair, like cheek dimples, the presence of cheek dimples, like no freckles, like the ability to roll your tongue. The ability to roll your tongue is dominant and different traits. So the common traits that appears in most of us are called dominant, and the traits that appears in some of us are called recessive. The difference between dominant and recessive is not related to that they are better or they are stronger than us. Okay? Before the end, anyone have a question? Any question, guys? Okay. Chatting. Okay, Ziz. Okay, see you next session, inshallah. Goodbye.